And this is a film which just came out this weekend in cinemas. A film which I saw at London Film Festival last year in October. And I was incredibly excited to see how people would react to it. And it seems like people are reacting positively on the whole, which is really good. That film was Thoroughbreds. And it was one of the more surprising, interesting debuts I saw at London Film Festival. I had a fantastic time with it. And it's finally out in UK cinemas. So it's this kind of very dark comedy thriller. I guess you could say there are horror aspects in it, but it's a dark comedy thriller, really, about these two very rich, posh girls. And one of them's having problems back home, and one of them is a little bit psycho. And they decide between them that they're going to murder one of their dads. And that's the premise. I won't go into too much more detail. And it's written and directed by Corey Finley. This is his first time directing, writing any film stuff. He previously worked in theatre, so he did theatre productions. Now he's doing film. And it's really, really fantastic, this film. And I mention his theatre background because that's something that's really interesting, exciting, and surprising about this one. It's one of those films which you can see it very clearly on working on stage. It's got that kind of theatre, isolated, single space vibes screenplay that you see in a lot of films that are written by people that do theatre as well. And it really, really works. It's got a very, very dark, wicked sense of humor, which I had a joy watching. And I think Anya Taylor-Joy and Olivia Cooke, who are both the leads in the film, do a fantastic job bringing the screenplay to life. You guys know, I mean, from last week's podcast, I adore Olivia Cooke in everything she does. She's fantastic here, and so is Anya Taylor-Joy. I loved Anya Taylor-Joy in The Witch. I thought she was fantastic in that film. I loved her in Split. But I think arguably this is my favourite performance from her. And one of my favourite performances from Olivia Cooke. I think they're two fantastic actresses. They do an amazing job here. But it also features Anton Yelchin in his final role, which makes me quite sad because I adore him as an actor, and I was incredibly heartbroken when we lost him, when he died. He died way too young, and this was his final role, and it's a great final role. He sort of pops up in the film. It's not a huge role, but he is there. He's in the film, and he's great, and I loved his interaction with the girls in this film. They do a really good job. But I love the most about this film, the thing I love the most, is that it starts off and you're never really sure what it is you're watching, and then it starts to kind of do two things simultaneously as the film goes through. On one side, it starts to get a little bit more apparent what it's about, and it starts to get more solid in its screenplay, but it also, at the same time, unravels and gets crazier and weirder and more ridiculous, which seem like two opposite things, but work so well together. So by the time you get to the end of this film, it's crazy in a really good way. And I loved it. It gets very, very dark. I kind of wish it got darker. And the main problem I had with the film, it doesn't really affect it too much for me, but it just kind of stops it from being an incredible film for me, was the very end of this film. I think this film reaches a fantastic peak in its climax about 10 minutes before it ends. And I would have happily had it end there, and I think it would have been a stunning ending and a fantastic film overall. And it still is a fantastic film overall. I loved it. But it does kind of feel like it goes on a little bit too far. And the very, very ending of this film, the way it ends up, almost starts to get in the way of itself and unravel the great stuff it's done in the previous final act. It doesn't quite do that, but it does feel like it goes on a little bit too long. And the actual very, very ending of this film was somewhat disappointing, given the fact that it gets to such a great place in the final act anyway. But that's not a huge problem for me. It didn't break the film. I still really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was very, very funny. Really well shot as well. Corey Finley, I'm surprised at how much he had a fantastic grip on how to move a camera through this space. It pretty much takes place entirely in this one house where one of the girls lives and one of them visits. And the way the camera moves through the space is really, really exciting and interesting at points. And does a good job amping the tension as well. When you start to get to the end of this film and stuff starts clicking into place, the camera work in particular was something that stood out to me as really helping to build this sense of kind of dread and tension and not really knowing what's going on. And I thought it all sort of ended up wrapping up in this incredibly exciting, interesting, funny, dark package. It's a really, really fantastic debut. The sort of film which I think can only build and build into this kind of cult following. It's going to be a film which is looked back on as this kind of cult film, I'm sure. I got a chance to speak to Corey Finley after I saw it, because I saw it at the premiere at London Film Festival, and spoke to him, and it was really good because he obviously hasn't had it's his first time directing a big film. He hasn't had anything huge before, so a lot of people didn't really know who he is. So it was weird. I got to chat with him in a way which just felt like I could chat to someone else, not like this huge big director. And he said to me, well, I said firstly how much I loved the film, and I told him about why I loved it and what I thought he was doing really amazingly. And I said, it's so good. People are going to love this film. And he was like, cheers, man. Well, he didn't have a British accent. He's got an American accent. I'm not going to try an American accent because I just embarrassed myself. He was like, cheers. I do hope people go and see it. So fucking for my boy Corey, who I met for a solid 5 minutes at the London Film Festival, go and see Thoroughbreds. Seek it out. Go and see it. You won't be disappointed. It's a really interesting, unique film. And there's so much stuff. There's so much discourse online now about how much people want to see more unique, original content, but no one ever goes to see it. So if you're listening to this and you want to go see some new, unique, original content, go and buy a ticket for Thoroughbreds instantly. You won't regret it. It's fantastic. It's really, really good.